What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and now hosting monthly live online conversations for fathers that are sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization, and Dove Men Care. And we'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. As always, I love new friends, but I don't. I even like new friends when they ditch me. Let's leave it at that. So, a little while back, we're just playing. Hey, the lady said she owned it, so I could put it out there. A little while back, I was very blessed to have Laura from Bear Slate on, and little back channel here. There was supposed to be another person on, and for some reason they couldn't make the conversation. So, I like to follow up and follow through. I'm not perfect, but I like to do that. And I said, okay, what's going on? Like, you didn't like the shining head? You didn't like what's going on here? But she is here. And we also brought Laura back to make sure she behaves herself. Yeah, really. Because they have a lot of fun. So we're very happy to have Nicole Girouard from Bear State. And we've got Laura back. And of course, they didn't tell me they'd be both coming on, but we're good with that. We're good with that. And thank goodness you didn't see the 15 minutes before we went live. That was a comedy show. Yeah. But we're both here, and want to shout out to Mr. Luke from Windsor. Thank you. As always, supporting the cause, and another Canucks. So, ladies, what's going on today?
Well, first, I think we talk about why Nicole was a no-show, why she left me solo with you.
Yeah, we can. Yes,
that's up to her.
No, and you know what? We talk about accountability and owning your actions and your decisions all the time. And I freely and fully admit that when we were asked to come on the show the first time, I went, okay, but it's going to be live. Like, I can't do live. Why? I don't know. So I chickened out, which is crazy. I do live presentations all the time. So I chickened out. Okay, well, I was there in the chat though.
Well, yeah, but you were really engaged, but you weren't on screen, but you were fully engaged. And
which I said, crazy.
And okay, so before we really find out more about you, don't you do a lot of YouTube?
Listen, I have been on 5 different channels. I'm in video training for I don't even know how many companies. It's good. I don't know. I just thought I can't do live, but obviously I can.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
And you do it well.
Thank you. Well, I have a good partner.
It's still early. It's
1
still
minute
early.
in. Things can happen. Things can happen.
Well, let's find out a little bit about you before you became a Bear Slate.
Sure. Well, I've always been a Bear Slate. I like to recreate my life one day at a time. So there's that. But no, Laura and I decided to merge companies not too long ago, but we've been in each other's life for a little while now. And just our values and vision and what we want to bring to people is the same. We have the same sense of humor. We're both a little crazy. We're entrepreneurs, so we do work 24/7, but love doing it. I will not complain.
I'm going to put it out there. They were all on either a digital stage or a physical stage together. I think it would be absolutely hilarious, but very empowering, enlightening, and entertaining.
I agree. Entertaining is the word. I think the 3 of us on a stage somewhere, that does need to be recorded because it'll be a bit of a show. But
we have the power to impact thousands of lives, and we're already doing it.
I think
absolutely.
So. Yeah. It's funny, and Laura can comment on this, but we talk about all the time that since coming together and with the team that we have in place now, we've been able to reach so many more people. We're doing really cool stuff. Every day we're looking at each other going, this is what we're doing. So it's exciting. Super exciting. Yeah.
But you know what? Laura's not going to let you get out that easy. So we're going to find out about Nicole before.
You are so right, my friend.
Right? Before. you go up, little Nicole.
Little Nicole.
Oh,
She became big Nicole.
I should have sent you a picture. I grew up in a very small town. Yeah, true. I don't know if it was technically a village or town, but anyway, I grew up in a very small Northern Ontario town, and there were 3,000 people. I was there from birth until I left to go to college, and I went to the big city to go to college. The big city had 170,000 people. That was a lot. But I always knew I wanted to big city. Like, I literally would close my eyes and be like, I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be in a city with all the energy. I don't know why. I just knew. And so after I went to college, I moved to Toronto, and I've been here for, I think, 20 years already. Which, if you do the math, you can tell how old I am. But I came after college, and I've been here for 20 years.
Hold on, Nicole. My mother taught me there's two things you never discuss with a lady: age and weight. So
that's right.
You're not going to pull me in.
Absolutely
on that,
right.
Okay?
But I don't care.
Right.
I've never had a problem with it. So, yeah. I came here and I've been here for the last 20 years.
I have a burning question for Nicole. When you were a kid, because I don't know some of this either, you know. When you were a little kid, did you spend a lot of time by yourself, or were you that kid that followed other kids around? Like, what were you like? Or were you that kid that was like, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way? What were you like?
Interesting. Probably a combination of all three, actually. I have no problem spending time alone. Totally fine with that. I grew up, I have two siblings, and the three of us were all a year apart. So there's me, 14 months later is my brother, and then I think 15 or 16 months after him is my sister. So we're close. Wow. Like, we're really close.
Okay. So you said that you've always wanted, like, from a young age, you wanted to have your own business.
Yes.
Is there anyone in the family lineage that is an entrepreneur?
Oh, big time. So my grandfather on my mom's side, he was a professional photographer, and he was our town's photographer. He did passports, he did weddings, he did anything you needed, honestly, family portraits, government issue photos, everything. Yep. So I grew up, I can remember to this day sitting in my grandfather's studio, which was in his house, by the way, playing on the calculator. And it was the one with the paper where you, and it would go, and the roll would go. I would just pretend to be adding things up and pretending I was a business owner. And I was a kid, like a kid. And that's one of my best memories. And my parents were entrepreneurs as well. While they had regular jobs, they also had their own businesses. So an uncle had a really successful business as well. So there's a lot of entrepreneurship in our family, a lot. So I'm not scared of it.
When was the last time you were back to your hometown?
December. Right before all of this happened. You know what? My hometown. Sorry.
Your hometown.
Hometown. Probably at least 5 or 6 years ago. A lot of our family's not there anymore. They've all moved to that city. It's Thunder Bay, Ontario, where I went to school for the first time. So they all live there now, just because the industry in my hometown that supported was forestry and mining. And as those things closed up, people had to move. So while there are still some people in my hometown, a lot of them have moved. And my personal family, they've moved to the next largest city. So it's been a while.
I'm going to encourage you on something. If you do get back there, and if it's still standing, I would suggest you take a picture of the house you grew up in. Oh,
I love the house I grew up in. Every time we go, we drive by because it's our house. Yeah, absolutely.
Take a picture. Take a picture. That's a great memory.
Yeah.
How was the adjustment moving from Thunder Bay to TO?
Wild. No, I'm not kidding. So it's funny. It's almost, I don't want to be dramatic, but it's almost traumatic, because if you think about it, I grew up in a very small town in northwestern Ontario. You're in the middle of forest, you're in the middle of the bush, your like lakes are everywhere. It's literally forestry all around you. I moved to Thunder Bay, which for all intents and purposes is a smaller city, but still a lot of wilderness, a lot of trees, a lot of nature. When I came to Toronto, I had not physically seen myself a building that was taller than 3 or 4 stories.
Oh my gosh.
Or highways that had more than one coming and one going. Yeah. So to see the 401, the QEW, the CN Tower, like this was me while like, where am I?
Yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah. The amount of people is a lot to get used to. And when you're used to walking down the street or driving by and it's like, the quaint little videos you see or movies where you like wave to your neighbor and you know everybody. That's how I grew up. So when you come here, nobody makes eye contact. They don't really talk to each other. You don't want to engage with each other. I found that really bizarre. It was hard to get used to at first. It really was. Yeah.
I know Laura's glad she's here because she's hearing stuff she's never heard before.
Yeah, for sure. It's also taking me back to when I was a kid. Like when I was really little, we lived out in the country, and it's not. I mean, it's Campbellville. It's an hour outside of the city. But I remember as a child, we used to have these big old Cadillac Eldorados, and sitting in the back seat, and the smell of the city always smelled like popcorn.
Nice,
and it was because I think of Red Path. The factory down on the lake.
Yes.
Yeah. So we would come into the city and it was like this huge experience. So as you're saying this, like I'm remembering that as a child and things that do with you. And you are much older, so I would imagine that it would be
I think it was 21 when I came here.
Yeah. So just think of that. It's like it's when you meet people that had never seen snow before, it's just crazy.
Oh, it's wild. Yeah.
So Nicole, you grew up with that business stuff from a long time with the calculators and the paper. When did you really get honed in and say, business is my path, my journey? Do you ever remember of when you said, okay, this is me?
Well, I spent almost 2 decades in the Canadian healthcare industry. So I actually did the corporate path. I worked for like multinational organizations, Canadian-wide organizations, smaller organizations. And no matter what job or what type of role I had, I still always had that intrapreneur situation going. So I was always the employee that was saying, well, what if we tried this? And what if we move this a little bit? And here's how we can make more money. And how can we improve the experience for the customer? I think some got annoyed with me because they just wanted me to do my thing and go home. But I had that thing in me where I wanted it to succeed. So I've always actually had this, I've had a couple businesses. So I always did, and because I came from a small town, you do like small things like the Mary Kay or, like the at-home stuff. Dabbled with that a little bit, but at one point, about 10 years ago, my hobby at the time was jewelry making. So I went to George Brown here in Toronto and learned how to cast and make jewelry. I went to the Gemological Society and got my accredited jewelry professional because my hobby turned into my thing. And so as I was working in corporate, I had a side business making jewelry. And proudly, like I was in a few magazines and I did really well. I did e-commerce before e-commerce was even a thing. Thank you very much. I was in part of the swag for one of the, what was that movie premiere that was down here? It wasn't TIFF, but it was kind of like TIFF. It was like the soap opera thing. I was one of the swag sponsors that year. I did really well. And then after that, some things happened and I closed that business down. And because here's the thing, just because you love doing something as a hobby doesn't mean it should be your business. Sometimes it takes the joy out of it, right? So I closed that down. A few years later, I started another business. It was along the lines of consulting in digital marketing. And then the final iteration of my consulting firm was about 6 years ago when I was desperately trying to convince corporate entities to get digital, get online, leverage tech. You can run your business from anywhere in the world if you are a knowledge worker. And lo and behold, here we are now. Where I feel a little vindicated. It's like, guys, if you just would have gotten online, then a lot of this could have, been avoided.
Can you remember the day you said goodbye to corporate?
Oh, yes, I can.
Hey.
Yes, I can.
Too.
Let's share.
Me too.
Please share that.
Me too.
If you want to share
days.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's funny because it was, I had a position with an organization I'd been with for a number of years, loved the company, loved the people I was with, no ill will whatsoever. I volunteered to, be in a new sort of business development type role. It didn't work out. It wasn't the direction they wanted to go. So I was laid off, and that's okay.
Okay.
But when I was laid off, I took a look around and went, okay, I've been in this industry for almost 20 years. What do I do? What am I doing? What do I want? Like, you always think you want to climb that ladder and get to the office. And I found myself in the room with the CEOs and the board members and the decision makers, and it's not what I thought it was. And so that's when I said, you know what, I need to actually do this instead of as the side hustle. I need to actually put my energy into what I want to do. And that's when things changed. That's when things changed. Wonderful. I don't know about you, Laura. I know you kind of towed into it a little bit.
It's for me, it was a little different. I really made the decision to step out. I had made it, the next step would have been owning a dealership, which I never really wanted to have. Mm-hmm. And I gave 3 months notice. I knew that I wasn't doing a service to my team anymore. Because I wasn't present, I wasn't learning, and I wasn't growing. So I made a very big decision at that point to say, I'm going to walk away from this. And the day, I'll never forget the first day that I didn't go to work. I went for a walk and I cried the entire time because I felt like for the first time in my life, someone didn't own me.
Yes, that's exactly the feeling.
And I will never forget that day again. And I don't believe that. I believe that you can work for people. I believe that there are great leaders out there that you can work with, that you don't feel like they own you. But I felt like someone owned me. And part of my mission in life is to help build great leaders so people never feel what I felt. Yeah. And to help people realize that there is more and never settle, and to fight for that. So it was a very profound day for me, and had a tremendous meaning. So,
yeah.
Now, Nicole, you had mentioned that you've known Laura for a number of years before you became business partners together. Do you either one remember the first time you met?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I totally remember. Yeah,
they're on my old Instagram account. Laura and I met through a mutual women's networking group. It was an accelerator group for female entrepreneurs, and I was there because my client at the time, who was offering virtual assistant services, Laura was interested in their services, and at the time, I was helping. Because they didn't have a salesperson in Toronto at the moment. And I said, well, I did sales forever. I'll go talk to whoever you want. No problem. And I went, and it was Laura that I met with. And when I say, like when you immediately click, like you got the same sense of humor, you can tell you use the same language. It was that. And we genuinely, we have pictures on my old Instagram account of the first time that we met. Just wild.
Yeah.
So Bear Slate, Laura, you approached Nicole.
Yeah.
Correct?
Oh, the day I met her, I asked her if she wanted to come on.
Wow. And Nicole, what was your initial reaction?
I was like, oh, that's really nice. Thank you. And here's why. And Laura, it's the same thing. Once you, I guess, start having any modicum of success or traction, you get asked by a lot of people like, hey, we should partner. We should do this. We should do that. And I'm saying this, it's a wonderful place to be. It's very, I'm appreciative. But at the time, I had been approached by a number of people. And before I actually knew what to look for, I had gone down the road of partnerships where it didn't work. So I was careful. I was more careful.
And I was fine with that. I mean, I said to her, I said, you will come back to me. And I'm okay with that when you're ready. Because if I want something or I see something in someone that I want them to rise to, I will not stop.
It took a year though.
And I saw and still
I had other
see
commitments, but it took
day.
a year.
Yeah. I mean, Nicole is, I have to say, exceptional. I love working with her.
Thank you.
We understand and respect each other. We fight, we laugh. We're very vulnerable and transparent. And I think it's really important in a business partnership. I have never, and I will say, I have never offered that opportunity to anyone.
Wow.
So it wasn't, she may have been getting a lot of offers, but I was not giving any. So
yeah, no, which was, I'm so grateful for how the universe worked and put us in front of each other, because it's great.
We have fun and it's great work. We're very aligned.
I want to parking lot Bear Slate just for a moment. Yeah. Nicole, you had done a lot of YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Before jumping on with Bear Slate. Can you share a little bit about that and how that came about and how you say you're shy in front of the camera, but that's a whole other conversation. Can you share some of that journey with us? Because some people may not know.
Yeah, sure. So it all started because, so I've spent actually, I think here's where it started. I'm comfortable in front of a camera because, as I mentioned before, my grandfather was a professional photographer. So every new lens, every new backdrop, every new photo editing technique, me, my brother, and my sister were the ones sitting, posing, doing, like, we're comfortable.
I gotta see those, right?
I could find them.
I'd love to see some pictures. That's so cute.
Right? Like, I'm comfortable. Some people, the minute a camera's around, they you can tell that they're aware. I'm good, because from a young age, it's fine. When it came to video, again, the same thing. I did theater. Like, I was a theater kid, singing, dancing, all the rest of it. So I'm good.
Hey.
So because of that background, when I first started my consulting agency to help organizations get online, get your message online, digitize your training, please stop making everyone come into a physical boardroom for 3 days when the theory could be done online and then you only have to meet for an afternoon. Anyway, when I was instructing them, and Laura follows the same process again, which is why we're such a good fit, walking them through how to do it. Like, here's what you're going to do. You break down your training. You've got your PowerPoint slides. Turn the video on. 1-minute video, each slide. Every single time, and it's funny because it just happened again this week, the question is, well, can you just do it? And at first, as a done for you service, right, I found myself presenting other people's content in their digital courses behind a paywall. So you can't see it unless you paid for that person to get in. But it's my face. And as my client roster moved on, a lot of them said, well, okay, we want to do a YouTube channel. Because again, it's a great way for exposure. It's evergreen. It lives there forever. People find you. You get it. It was my face again. So you're going to find, like, I'm on, I think that on my 5th channel, like, I've been on other people's channels for them.
Sure.
And then I created my channel at the end of last year just to get some of that. Here's why you need to be remote. Here's how you do remote and virtual meetings. Here's how you do your training. And then Laura and I sat down and had a conversation. And I said, well, Laura, now that we're now both Bear Slate, I don't know if it makes sense to continue my personal channel because it was tied to my business.
Right.
Yep. Why don't we do one? And that's where the Ask More, Get More show kind of.
Good lead-in. Spectacular segue, Nicole.
Thank you.
Spectacular.
Do you like that?
Just so wonderful. Before we go on, Luke says Nicole's mic boom is epic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Amazon. Love this. I've had this forever. The story behind the boom. I used to have the Yeti, and I know Laura has one. And I don't think yours is a Yeti just from the look of the top. Sitting on the desk.
I'm using a Rode N218, which is about $250.
You're fancy. But the story with this is that I'm French Canadian, and as I'm sure you can guess, I talk like this. Yeah. And every time my hands used to touch my desk, you would hear the boom, boom. I had to get this off my desk. Thank you, Luke. I needed to get it off. Yeah. It's great. I love it.
Okay. Love it. There you go. Yeah, there you go. All right. So
that's the story behind all the YouTube channels.
Wonderful. There's so many things. Okay, let's talk about the show.
Okay.
Sure. Love the
show you're coming on.
Me?
Yeah.
I have something positive to offer. Hey, moi?
Et tu?
Yeah. Hey, tu. Talk about this great show that I've watched a number of episodes. I actually was there for the first episode.
Yes, you were.
I know. Yeah.
And I do watch it offline. And first of all, congratulations on doing it.
Thank
first
you.
of all.
Thank
you. Who was more nervous to start it off, Nicole or Laura? Because I know Nicole says she isn't good live. So was Nicole the nervous one?
We don't do them live yet.
Yeah, we don't do them live. I want to do them live. For a little while, I had to get over myself. And then as soon as I got over myself, I was okay. I don't think there was really, I think, we all write our own stories. My story goes like this. Hey, Nicole, why don't we need to get more, we need to be more visible. We need to be more seen. Yeah, 100%. COVID hits us. Hey, let's have conversations. We have conversations every day. We love ourselves. We're funny. We hope people will love us and think we're funny too. And hey, so we have a couple conversations about interesting things that we think will help people, surrounding conversations that we're not hearing, that we want to see. And that sort of led into, hey, why don't we see if this person wants to come on and we can talk to them about that? And it just sort of grew, and we have so much fun.
Too much.
And the people that have come on our show they're all exceptional. And I think that Nicole and I just have this natural desire to want to learn about people and want to hear what they've, like, we're just so interested in, like, having conversations with people like you. And learning what your journey was and what your story was. And
I just do. Like, now how did the name of the show come up? Because I love it. Because when I saw it, I went, I like it.
Well, it's kind of it's a great. Bit of it's humorous, the story. We like talking. I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah. We're really curious, like Laura said. And one of our kind of mottos is, well, how do you know unless you ask? How are you going to find out unless you ask? How are you going to figure out what that story is or what's going on with that person unless you have a conversation with them? How do you know? And it's funny because part of the reason to do with the show was that at the beginning when COVID hit is when we actually started it, funny enough.
Yeah. Right
the news was talking about businesses. Talking heads were talking about businesses. Articles were being written about businesses, but nobody was talking to the business owner. Nobody was actually having a conversation other than, oh, we're so sorry that you had to shut down. What are you going to do next? There was no, right? And then there also wasn't conversation being had with business owners that were surviving and thriving and pivoting. And you know what? We used to do in-person training. Well, now we're going to interview people and share their wisdom and knowledge this way instead. Yeah. So we get to talk with really cool people.
Yeah. And
it's exciting.
We have shifted a lot of our business model, really. We lost a tremendous amount of in-person workshops and work like that, in-person training, when this hit us. So we knew we needed to shift. And this was just sort of a natural progression to help us continue to have conversations with each other. And for me, so many people don't ask. And I always say, if you don't ask, how do you know?
You don't know.
Just ask. You're going to get more of anything. Just ask. And it doesn't matter if it's not what you want to hear, because then you don't ask that anymore. You go somewhere and ask somebody else.
Well, it applies to everything. You want your cell phone bill to be better? Call them and ask. You want to figure something out with your heating and ductwork? Call them and ask. Can I set up, I don't know, ask.
Just ask.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with both of you. And as both of these ladies know, I'm a very, 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 very much disciple of my friend Mary Armstrong. You should have 3 asks, not just
That's
one.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have 3 asks. Have 3 asks. But yeah, the conversations are really great. I love to you play on words. You vibe well with each other.
Yeah.
And it's as much entertainment as information.
Yeah.
So you do a great job at
Thank
what you're
you.
doing, and
Thank
keep it
you.
up. It's very, very good. So people, check it out.
Yeah.
Come on,
Well,
check it
Yes.
out.
Okay.
Subscribe.
Shameless plug.
Subscribe.
Today at 3:30. Today at 3:30 Eastern.
Yeah.
We have a cognitive and behavioral neuroscientist coming on to explain the law of attraction and your mind and how it works from a science perspective.
It's amazing. She's amazing.
She's so cool.
She's
And
so
Canadian.
Cool. Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah, she's so cool.
She's wonderful. Her name is Naza Nalani. She has a YouTube channel, but she has her PhD in neuroscience, and she's amazing.
Yeah. And
that's today at 3.
She's on our show. Yeah, she's on at 3:30 today.
So you mentioned that you've had to pivot your business model, like probably a lot of companies. How has that been internally? Has it been a challenge? Has it been a smooth flow? If you're be able to treat transparent
of course.
that.
Yeah, there is some. I mean, unfortunately, we have had a little bit of casualty with the team because we just can't afford it. So we've had to adjust and reduce hours a little bit, but overall, because our focus and our shift really started to change in January anyway, we were really shifting more to producing the podcasts that we have. So we now have 2. We did start the first one, which was Get More, in February. We started that podcast, which is more of the educational space. We still very much consider ourselves a social enterprise. We believe that everyone should have access to information. And we just want to be able to provide education and information in a different way. And so the podcast we had started building then. So there's been no glitches with that. It's really just mostly trying to convince people that an in-person workshop can be done virtually. And that's really been the biggest challenge we've had.
And people, I'm sure there are people, but
yes, sir.
If people ain't okay, I'm gonna say this, and I said it earlier on this morning to someone, and when they heard it, they went, "Oh, I never heard it." If people aren't getting that now, their wood is wet.
They're not going to do it.
Leave it like that.
They're not going to do it. This is the thing. If you're at a point, and especially if, and I need to be clear about this because we get feedback on this, if you are a knowledge-based business, if you are banking, if you're an insurance, if you're a lawyer, you're not making a physical product, right? Like you're not manufacturing sneakers. You're not a particle board manufacturing plant. If you're a knowledge worker and you think about every day I go to a specific building with the rest of my colleagues, we all sit in front of our computer, we phone each other, we email each other, we rarely get up and go see each other. Why are you doing that? Go home. So that's part of it. And for those organizations that are struggling at the moment and literally doing the bare minimum, crossing their fingers and holding their breath so that everyone can come back to the office as soon as they're done, they're missing out big time. And I think that's why Laura and we actually did a little bit of a rant video on our channel a couple days ago.
You should have had me come on.
We'll talk about it when you can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The thing that we're showing all the articles, talking about retrofitting bathrooms, talking about schedules for who can go to the bathroom when, and new hires for taking temperature and monitoring whether you're doing social. The retrofitting that is trying to be put in place just blows my mind. You can better spend that resource on the technology and the security required to have your people work from home and just learn a new way of working.
Well, and I'm happy to. Facebook and Shopify just announced this week that they will not be coming back to the office for at least another year.
And Twitter announced that a few weeks ago as well.
Actually, Shopify is going. I actually have a very close acquaintance who is the wellness person for Shopify. That's what
another Canadian business. Yeah. Totally.
She's fantastic. And the thing is, she also is a member of the National Speakers
Wonderful.
Bureau. And she appears periodically on The Social. Wonderful lady. And she just started working there, and she sent something the other day, and Shopify is basically it's in full transition to
Makes sense.
Work from home.
And here's the thing that people aren't, you see a few articles spattered here and there, and I think we see them because we're in the digital space and we go, yeah, no kidding. But think of the environment. There's less impact on the environment. You're buying less clothes. You're using less water. Your services can be redeployed to areas that aren't used at the moment for an office space. People can live wherever they want. Like, I could fulfill my dream and go live in the forest again. I could go do that and I can still work. Do you know what I mean?
I still talk to it every day the same way we do every day.
Listen, I think I see and talk to Laura even more than my husband, who sits across from me in the office here. So we're on video all day long.
I always say it's like, I'm the person in the office going, get out, come here. Now I just bug them this way. It's just
you can do it.
You just teach, baby. Well,
the thing is,
Luke said I lived in the forest. Yeah, kind of.
Really?
Sort of.
But if people want their business or service to grow, they've got to think globally.
Totally.
And as I say, most people in the world have one of these. And revenue is not just money. Revenue is data.
Yes,
you got it. Yeah,
it's
true.
I fully get it, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, you know what? I was going to go down that tangent, but I want to ask. From the last time we had a conversation, it was a few weeks ago offline.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Have you seen? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Have you seen any more businesses get it, or are they still stuck? Or not even still, or some of them are some of them in reverse.
Well, I talk all the time. The companies that are dark are dark. And
like they're not talking, they're not on social, they're doing nothing.
Like there are companies that have just retracted so far back that the journey back out is going to be quite interesting to watch. And then there are companies that we've seen, because I think that there's almost the extreme, and I've said this from the beginning. When COVID-19 hit, there was a group of people that got really, really busy and a group of people that did nothing. Yeah. And I've seen that same pattern. We've seen that same pattern in businesses. The businesses that continued to push through, to get out there, to prospect. I mean, any salesperson that reached out to me, I would email them back and say, I love you, keep going, never give up. Don't be afraid to ask. Because I've seen so many businesses sort of dance around what's happening and disappear. And I think that we've seen a few more realizing that the reality of having to come back is starting to step in, because they're seeing people come out and they need to put the money, not the money, but the time and the investment into the process.
Yeah. I think I wish more companies would look at this as an investment, not an expense.
And you know what's funny? You're right.
That's something.
You're 100% right. One of the last in-person presentations I did was to a CEO group, and it was on the importance of moving your traditional teams to a remote workforce. And before this was in January, I think. Yeah. And in that meeting, I had one gentleman who was the founder and CEO of an organization that did, I think it was like computer parts or something. So there was a manufacturing aspect, but his entire back office was remote. And some of the questions around the room from some of the gentlemen that were there were, but how much is this going to cost me? How much more is it? What are the numbers? And I looked to the gentleman that's doing it. I said, can you please share with the room how much more expensive it is? And he said, it's not. He said the cost that I spend on having a desk for everyone, a laptop or a desktop for everyone, the cleaning services, the AC, the insurance, he said all that goes away, and I might pay for half their internet or make sure they have a laptop, but my expenses have gone down. And you could see that even just the disbelief, even though he's saying it, he's lived it, he's doing it, everyone's going, yeah, but really, is it going to work for me? I don't know if we can do it. And that limiting belief just buries you.
Okay,
I think we're seeing both sides of the spectrum.
You want to see some fireworks? Hey,
Uh-oh.
Nicole, how do you feel about spyware?
Please do not spy on your employees at home, at work, or anywhere. The rise in request for demos and services. There's a few US-based companies that will install keyword tracking and keyboard tracking and eyeball Stop it. Spyware is just you trying to replace being a good leader. I'll say it. You don't know how to manage your people, so you're trying to use tech to do it for you in the most invasive and untrustworthy way possible. Please don't.
So calm right now. It's insane.
I am.
She's live. You know what? And I agree, because we can't.
It's just destructive.
I don't understand why businesses, first of all, part of the fear of shifting to remote in organizations is the fact that they don't believe that their teams are going to produce as well, because they're not visible to them or accessible to them.
Dumb.
And we have proof of that because of the rate of interest that has been shown in these types of software and platforms. They have skyrocketed in volume and request. So
okay, Luke just made a good point. I get offended by people looking over my shoulder. I know what I'm doing. Let me do my job. That is how everyone feels. Sorry, Laura, I didn't want to cut you off, but you're right. No. And if you're the kind of manager that's going to stand behind me at my computer all day long to make sure I'm working, and you're going to do that for all 30 of your employees, good luck. You don't do that in real life. Why are you trying to do that virtually?
There was actually a recent study, I think, that came out this week. There's an article on it where they actually studied a company that put in the spyware. It was sort of like a test type thing. Mm-hmm. And they found that the employees that didn't have the spyware were more productive.
Of course they are. Gee, I've hired an experienced adult to do a job and I'm letting them do it. What a concept.
Yeah. So,
yeah. So yes, we have feelings about spyware.
Still a long way to go. Yes, we still have a long way to go. We all have a lot to learn about working in digital space and having relationships. Mm-hmm. Nicole and I talk a lot about how important connection is, and I know that you feel the same as we do. So,
just to expose to everyone, I chat with these ladies at least once a month. We just get together and chop it up because we feed off each other's energy. We share stories. We learn from each other. We grow from each other. I don't know if I'll ever get to meet them. I hope I do one day. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stand up.
Totally, that's good.
but that's the way people like. I don't want people to look at this digital thing as a convenience thing. Be committed to it. Don't act it convenience. Be committed to it. You can be so productive, and you can be global.
Yeah. Yep. Right now.
So you can be, and especially for the entrepreneurs like these two ladies are, they get it. They get it. So if you need clarity on how to move forward, there you go. It's sitting in your screen. Or if you're listening on audio, you're hearing it, contact them. They've got evaluated experience.
Thank you.
And the thing is, yes, you have to be afraid. But I heard a term the other day, if you don't stretch, you don't know how close you are.
That's so true.
Yeah. There's a little bit of discomfort.
Right.
There's a wonderful guest we had. Her name is Julia Ketsivo. She's a holistic business coach. She said in one of our interviews that there's pain involved with your situation. There's either the pain of growth or the pain of staying the same and being stuck. Which one do you want? Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Well, the other day, there's a gentleman named Robert F. Smith. He's one of the richest Black men in America. He actually paid the outstanding tuitions for all the graduates. I heard about that.
It's so amazing.
Yes. But he was being interviewed and he said something that's I share with everybody who's wanting to move forward. Don't waste this crisis.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I thought it was brilliant. So, and there's another lady who comes on actually, she'd be a good lady for you to interview. She actually has her PhD in communications out in the States, and she's a choreographer, producer, all that stuff. I'll get her on. She is fantastic. Awesome. And she says she has that. She says she wants everyone to be more better, smarter, stronger.
Love her.
So we have a hashtag now. Be
Love
more
it. Yeah.
I will get her on. She is phenomenal, and her insights on media. I had her on about a week ago when we talked about media during this time and media after this time. So here's an interesting fact, and she shared with me, a lot of young people are on TikTok, right? Well, and if you're in business, study what's going on in your business. And I just don't mean but your industry, because the gentleman who helped launch Disney Plus is now the CEO at TikTok.
Okay. Interesting.
So take a look, maybe in the next year or so, instead of the 10-second stuff on TikTok, you may see longer stream content.
It's just like with Instagram, how it evolved, and IGTV, and before you could only do 15. Like this
hot GIF. So a good business owner knows what's going on in their industry.
Yeah, you're right.
And if you don't know what to do with that, again,
ask.
The two ladies are here.
Just ask us. Just ask us anything.
It's so key. What are you feeling? What do you sense on the business landscape, Canadian business landscape, because you're both based in Canada, in the next 6 months?
What do we see?
What sort of pulse are you getting from your own evaluated experience, from clients you've talked about, and from the research and what you're seeing out there in the landscape? What are you feeling we're going to be seeing in the next 6 months?
So I think Nicole and I have talked obviously a lot about this, and we've sort of pre-COVID, one of our real focuses was to get core skills. I mean, we're core skills educators. We believe that you need to understand how to manage your stress, how to be accountable, how to build confidence, are learned skills, and they're practice skills over time. And what we believe is that a lot of businesses didn't embed that type of training into their foundation. And I think that we're going to find that the workforce, as they try to come back to this space, and try to forge a new path in the new world, which is social distancing. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. And with the processes, they're going to have to start to learn, whether businesses like it or not, that their staff are going to need an investment into understanding, learning, and practicing core skills in order to just make it through the day to the next day. And I think we're going to start see that a lot more in the mental health space. I speak of core skills as being the business language for mental health. I believe that if you can source your confidence, if you can understand why you're not taking action or being accountable,
manage your time, set goals.
That all has to do with your mental health and stability. And how you interact with the world. And that's half why we bring in doctors that work in the mental health space to talk about it, because there's a lot of stigma around mental health in business.
Yep.
So I think it's an outstanding point you bring up there, Loya. And there are people that are going to have already challenged. They were challenged before this. They're challenged during this, and they're going to be challenged after this. And I don't watch a lot of TV, but the other day I was watching like 20 minutes of the show.
Yeah, I watch it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. And
I found it very interesting that one of the characters on there is basically she's an
psychologist,
she's an organizational psychologist. She is in the company doing that.
And we see companies doing this.
Yes.
Some, not a lot.
So what you're kidding.
But yes, we have one of our first guests is a counseling therapist, and she's in one of the big 5 banks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean,
you're going to start.
We're so passionate. I mean, I'm studying it so I can bring it into the business. Laura has created a lot of the programs and methodologies that we use to bring the core skills to businesses. And I also think it's worth mentioning, Bear Slate's an approved training provider for the Ontario government. The federal government has an initiative called the Highly Skilled Workforce, and we're approved training providers for that. And what that means is businesses can get funding to train their people so that they can be highly skilled, know how to manage their stress, manage their time, set goals. Like we're so passionate about it. So passionate about it.
Program, actually, we just got confirmation 2 weeks ago that our program is available for funding from the government to be taught virtually. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Before it was only in person, but thankfully they made that switch. So now we can do it virtually.
So any business, as long as you have one employee, you're eligible for the funding. And you can get up to 80% of the cost of the training covered by the government.
Yeah.
And that's all surrounds, and you know, we go under the cloak of core skills. It's mental health in the workplace and how to become resilient and how to understand how to manage your time and how to identify what's important today so that you can see tomorrow. It's all of that that's built into that work. And so we can now teach virtually.
Well, ladies, I know that you've got to get going soon, so I don't like to keep you past the
we
time.
could talk to you forever, so
we could.
We could, because it's always such a great conversation. But some final words for our audience that you'd like to leave
ask more to get more.
Yeah,
please
don't stop asking for what you want and never settle.
Now that's Mario.
That's
his
right.
hashtag is never settle. Never settle. He comes up in all the
I know, he's so good. He's so good.
True.
Luke says that was fun.
Thank you,
Good
Luke.
luck. How can they get in contact?
I'll let Nicole close it out. She's really good at it.
So our website, bearslate.ca, we have information on there about the Ask More, Get More show. So if you are a subject matter expert, you want to be on our show, you can do that. We are on Twitter, Bear Slate, Instagram, Bear Slate, Facebook, Bear Slate, LinkedIn, Bear Slate.
LinkedIn, Bear Slate.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. This is a great, and I'm gonna put it out there with you too. Since yes, Bear Slate. Then yes, Luke says yes.
Did I mention Slate. Bear Slate?
3:30. You'll love it.
As well, yeah, and they're 3:30 today, folks who are watching live or listening live. I'm speaking that hopefully we can get both you on at least once a month if you can fill it into your schedules. I think absolutely fantastic to have you on once a month. No problem. Well, that's good. And we're going to have some conversations offline too, but I already have at least 2 people that I wanted to speak to get on your show.
And I can think of some that we need to have talk to you.
Yes.
So we'll do a little guest exchange.
Yeah, it's all right. We do hard exchanges.
There we go.
We don't do guest exchanges.
Love that.
All right. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 winner of the innovation category given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, host and co-producer of monthly online conversations for fathers, sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's National Father Organization, and Dove Men Care. If you want to find out about me, if you have the time, if you do, you do. If you don't, so what? No problem. Go to my website, thedrvibeshow.com. That gives you all the Twitter stuff, all the social media stuff, etc., etc., etc. Now, I always like to end off with this. First of all, thank you, Luke, right from the beginning. Canuck. All right, Luke. And also like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Thank you so much for sharing with us, ladies. Thank you, everybody, for listening live on the replay. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And remember, don't waste this crisis. And also, be more. Take care. God bless. Walk good, everybody. Have an outstanding day.
Thank you.